The story of Michael Jackson has already been told on screen once, but it didn't end there. The first film closed with a message that changed everything. His story continues. And now, that line is starting to feel less like a tribute and more like a promise. Because Michael 2 is officially in development at Lionsgate, and while there's still no confirmed release date, new details are finally giving fans a clearer picture of when the sequel could arrive. So let's break down everything we know so far about the release date of Michael 2. Right now, Lionsgate has not locked in an official release date for Michael 2, but the project is already much further along than a typical sequel in early development. One of the biggest reasons fans are so optimistic is the confirmation from Lionsgate chairman Adam Fogelson, who revealed that Michael 2 is actively moving forward after the global success of the first film. This isn't just early talk or speculation anymore. The studio has already begun shaping the next chapter in a very real way. And here's where it gets even more surprising. According to Fogelson, around 25% to 30% of the sequel has already been filmed. This happened during the production phase of the first movie, when the creative team realized Michael Jackson's life story was far too large to fit into a single film. Instead of cutting major moments, they made a different decision. They shot additional material early, knowing a second film was highly likely. That means Michael 2 already has a strong visual foundation before full production even resumes. In simple terms, this sequel isn't starting from zero. It already has a head start that most big-budget films never get. Now the next step is completing the remaining footage. While there is no confirmed shooting schedule yet, industry reports suggest that additional filming could begin later in 2026 or sometime in 2027, depending on cast availability and production planning. Director Antoine Fuqua is still expected to lead the project, but nothing is officially locked until scheduling is finalized. Another important factor is the scale of the story itself. The first Michael movie focused heavily on his early rise, Jackson 5 era, and transformation into a global superstar. But the sequel is expected to move into an even bigger phase of his life, covering major tours, worldwide fame, and the intense pressure that came with being the most recognizable performer on the planet. That means Michael 2 won't just be a continuation. It will likely be a much larger production in terms of scope, performances, and emotional depth. And with a bigger story comes a longer production timeline. Even after filming is complete, the film will still require extensive post-production work. That includes editing large performance sequences, music integration, visual effects, sound design, and carefully crafting the final narrative structure. For a project of this scale, post-production alone can take several months. Because of all these factors, the industry expectation right now is that Michael 2 is unlikely to arrive anytime soon. The earliest realistic window being discussed is late 2027, with many insiders also considering 2028, a very strong possibility, depending on how smoothly production moves forward. From a studio perspective, this timeline actually makes sense. Lionsgate is not just making a sequel. They are building a continuation of a major biographical film series centered around one of the most influential entertainers in history. Rushing it would risk both quality and audience expectations. And expectations are now extremely high. The first film brought global attention, renewed streaming interest in Michael Jackson's music, and positioned the franchise as something much bigger than a standard biopic. That level of success means the sequel has to deliver on every front: storytelling, performances, music, and emotional impact. So while fans are eager for a release date, everything currently points toward a carefully planned rollout rather than a fast turnaround. For now, the situation is simple. The movie is officially in development, a large portion is already filmed, and the studio is actively building the next chapter. But the final timeline is still taking shape. Until Lionsgate makes an official announcement, the most realistic expectation remains a release window between late 2027 and 2028. And as more production updates arrive, that window will likely become even clearer over time. With a large portion of the movie already filmed, Lionsgate actively developing the sequel, and the creative team preparing for the next stage of production, the story of Michael Jackson is far from over. And when Michael 2 finally arrives, it could take audiences into some of the most important chapters of the King of Pop's extraordinary life. The only question now is, will we be watching Michael 2 in 2027, or will the story continue in 2028?